The new BMW X1 is here, and honestly I think BMW is playing us when it comes to their design, because obviously they still know how to create beautiful looking cars like the new X1. So what we're gonna do, I want to show you the comparison between the old X1 and compare it to the new one in the front, side and rear, and also the interior, and then show you the M Sport package on the new one and compare that to the regular one. So this is a completely new redesigned X1. It's longer, wider and taller than before. It also has a longer wheelbase, and it comes with a 241 horsepower turbocharged 2-liter inline 4, and it will start at around $40,000 when it goes on sale here in the US later this year. So let's jump in straight into Photoshop here, because there's a lot to talk about. Up here we have the old X1, and down here the new beautiful reduced in styling and more kind of chiseled design of the new X1. Just have a look at the front view right here of the old one. We have a lot going on in the headlights here. For example, we have this angle and then this little dip in the front headlights, complicating the design maybe a little bit. And then we have the grille also having this interesting it kind of like it's pushing out right here, so it has this peak in the corner on the side before it goes down right here and then creates a pretty normal BMW kidney grille right here, and it's also connected in the middle. But here is where it gets really complicated when you look at the lower part. There's a lot going on with different textures, different colors, different materials, and everything looks a little bit messy maybe, but I still think that the old X1, I mean, compared to what we've seen from BMW lately, it still looks like a pretty good design. I'm going to show you more in side view, and that's where you can really see the differences between the old and the new. So let's have a look at the new one right here. It looks so much better in my opinion, because just have a look at the headlights, for example. Compare this to the new one. It's like they reduced the styling and kind of dial it back a little bit. We don't have this dip like we have right here. As you can see, this is now gone. It's a lot more cleaner design. And looking at the kidneys, these are, I think this has to be the best looking BMW grille on sale right now when this goes on sale later this year. I love that we have this angle on it, so it kind of leans forward a little bit, and that creates a very sharp corner or edge at the top right here, which is kind of a nice end point to the front end. And the hood itself, very simple design in the hood. We have this one single wave going in the hood, and that's about it. The lower part is also a lot simpler than we had before, with this kind of graphic that we're used to seeing now in the i models. This will also come as an iX3, and that has more of this graphic in it, and also these blue colors that we're also seeing on the i models of BMW. But I think this looks fantastic. It's a great looking small little SUV from BMW. One detail that I love about the front end of the new X1 is this chamfer. So have a look at how this headlights is now housed or sitting on top of a cliff right here, which is this chamfer. I think it looks so good to have just a simple chamfer to base the headlight to rest upon, and that in addition to the very chiseled looking grille now in the front end, it just creates all these combinations, creates a nice, clean, very reduced styling in the front end of the X1. Let's have a look at the Sport package right here. So this is the M Sport, and one weird thing here is usually I prefer the M Sport package pretty much 95% of the time when it comes to BMW, but not in this case. The reason being is I just think this looks messier down here with these angles that we have in the intakes right here, and also we don't have the same beautiful chamfer in this part. It looks a little different now from what we have right here, and I prefer the non-M Sport. However, I do want to have these blacked out grills and the trims that we have all over the car. I wish I could have those. Maybe I can. I'm not sure about the trim levels, but if I can have the normal BMW X1, the non-M Sport package, and have the grills and everything blacked out, that would be the optimal X1 for me. Let's have a look at the side view and then the rear and also the interior, because there's something going on in the interior that I need to talk about as well. So having a look at the side view right here, The old one looks pretty clean still. It's not, you know, it's not too complicated, and it's not too BMW weird like we've seen in a lot of models from BMW these days. We also have a clear greenhouse right here. We have a couple of interesting lines in the greenhouse in the old one. For example, you can see that we have a clearly defined Hofmeister kink right here, and that's cool. Then we have this line kind of dipping down, then going slightly up here in the front end, which is pretty interesting. And that's usually what happens when you see a front wheel drive car. You usually have the hood sitting a lot higher than the rest of the shoulder line right here. So it kind of goes up here to house the transmission and all the internal parts that's required for a front wheel drive car. You can see it clearly on the 2 Series, for example. If you look at the 2 Series sedan from a side view, you can just see how high the front end sits. But other than that, we have a very clean lines right here. We have this line going up right here in the front end, so it goes up something like this, and this has also been cleaned up for the new model. And you can see just the taillights is also a cool example here, how they just chiseled everything out and created more of a sculptural, more confident lines in the new X1. And just look at the shoulder line here, for example, very sharp, one single shoulder line going in the body of the car right here, from the corner of the taillight stretching all the way forward to the front headlights. And this line that kind of was a bit fluid right here in the previous X1 now also has a more confident structure to it. So it goes straight like this all the way to this point right here, and then it has a very sharp corner going up and creating this gorgeous fender that goes something like this. Super clean line, and the greenhouse as well has also been redesigned. We don't have this upswing in the front end anymore. It's now a clear straight line all the way down, and it doesn't have this little angle in the front in the last part of the greenhouse framing like we have on the previous generation. But we don't have the Hofmeister kink being as clearly defined in the new one, and that might be a setback if you look at BMW design history, but it still looks very, very clean. You could argue that this little angle going up here is part of the Hofmeister kink if you want to kind of implement that some way in the new design. I also love this color that we have here. This is a gorgeous design. It comes in 18, 19 or 20 inch wheels, and I would definitely go, I think these are probably the 19 or 20 inch, but let's have a look at the M Sport and why I prefer the normal one over the M Sport in side view as well. Because here everything is body colored, so what that does, it makes the car look heavier than it does in the non-M Sport. So these details, these trim pieces right here, as you can see, are body colored, and it looks very sporty. I would say I would change out these wheels and have some different wheels on here. I love the, as I said, the black trim going around the greenhouse, and this color like satin gray also looks very cool. You can now clearly see the shoulder line going right here in a very defined line, and also this defined line of the lower part of the side view. But look at this and compare it to the non-M Sport. The non-M Sport package looks, in my opinion, a lot lighter, because we have these being black, these trim pieces, black plastic cladding being not body colored, and kind of reduces the weight visually of the BMW X1. Last but not least, we have some interesting things going on in the rear view as well. The old one, same thing here. It's starting to show its age with these graphics, specifically looking at the internals of the rear end, rear taillight right here. But other than that, it's a pretty decent looking BMW, not too much craziness going on. But if we look at the X1 and compare it, for example, the taillights here to the X3, which I really don't like the taillights of, this looks a lot better in my opinion. I'm not sure exactly why. I think the X3, the little circle that it has with like all the same angles going around the circle makes it look like a very boring and non-automotive design feature, while here it has more dynamic to it. We have a different thickness on the LED part itself. It goes from thin right here to a little bit thicker right here, and then stretches all the way to this point, which creates some movement, like it's being pulled this way, like it's being pulled by the shoulder line right here. The shoulder line is pulling the taillight into this side and kind of stretches it almost around the corner. And then we have, look at this, we don't have a nice chamfer housing the taillights, but we do have that on the new one. It just looks fantastic. I think this is a great job by BMW, and it shows that they still know, as I said, how to create very, very cool cars. I quickly want to show you why I don't prefer the M Sport package in the rear view here as well, and that's because of this piece right here. I'm not sure what this black piece is trying to do. It just creates a lot more static feeling because we have the same chamfer going around here, and it doesn't feel as elegant or as beautiful as the non-M Sport. This looks like a big hole that's just you know, a big void of something, and it looks very static because we have, looking at this piece for example, by itself, we don't have any movement in it. And what I mean when I say we don't have movement in graphic features is that it's too symmetrical. And if it's too symmetrical, we're moving away from automotive design, stepping into product design. And I think that's what's going on with this specific piece, because this piece sticks up, this graphic sticks up almost the same way as it does in the bottom, and this creates a non-moving graphic part. It doesn't have a movement this way, it doesn't have a movement this way or down or to the left either. Other than that, I really like the rear end, and of course this color looks gorgeous, but still I would prefer the non-M Sport. Last but not least, let's look at the interior here, because as you know, I'm not a huge fan, as you might have known from previous videos here, of car manufacturers when they just slap a big iPad on here. Like, we didn't have that in the previous generation. This looks pretty clean. We have a nice cozy house for the gauge cluster right here, and a pretty typical BMW display in the middle right there on top. But even though I think this could have been a bit more integrated, better in the overall center dash there, but it is what it is. But looking at the new one down here, it has this big iPad on it right here, and it looks almost like the new 3 Series as well. But I don't know, in this X1 here, I think this actually works better than the previous generation. Now, I'm not sure why. I might have said something completely different on the 3 Series. I think I did, but now I don't know if it's the photo or whatever, the colors of the interior. But I think this actually works with having a big iPad slapped on there, and it looks pretty integrated in this design. We could maybe have some better integration with the iPad on this X1, but it still looks pretty good. Other than that, we have a new steering wheel, as you can see, new design of the steering wheel with these features down here. We have now an opening in the middle that we didn't have on the old one. But other than that, it looks pretty similar with the layout or the proportions of the interior and where everything is. I think if you've owned the old X1, you're gonna be pretty easily familiar with the new one. So that's the reason why I think BMW is actually playing us here. They're just spitting out a couple of models and trying different things with big kidneys. You have the XM and then the iX looking super weird, and then they come out with the new X1, which looks like an old traditional BMW, and we have some cats fighting over there. I don't know if you can hear it, but that's what's going on right over there. So thanks BMW for bringing back some elegance and some class to their designs. This is, in my opinion, the best looking SUV or crossover from BMW at the moment. Let me know what you think about the new X1. Do you prefer this styling or do you prefer the old X1? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.